Welcome back, explorers. I'm David, that's Wesley, and this is the Trailcast.
The show that gets so off track that you'll have to stick around to see where we end up.
So sit back and enjoy the ride, because today, we're on the way to Scranton, Pennsylvania.
That's right, today, we're talking about The Office.
So Wesley, what do you think about The Office?
Oh, I love The Office. It is one of my favorite shows. I watch it. It's like one of those shows that I can put on in the background and watch at any time. And I know, like, for you, you'd probably pick like Parks and Rec over The Office. And like I think Parks and Rec is a great show. Like shows like Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine are both like really good shows. I like both of them. But I take The Office for more the nostalgia aspect of it all. Like I wouldn't say that it's the best show ever, but because I have a lot of nostalgia with it, I would classify it in that realm.
Yeah, I mean, I still have a lot of nostalgia for it too. I did watch Parks and Rec first, which is probably why I like Parks and Rec more, but I still love The Office. The Office is still an amazing show.
Yeah, I also like the fact that, like, I think more so than shows like Parks and Rec or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Office is very much a show that it doesn't really matter what you're watching. You can just kind of jump in wherever, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of episodes, like, there is an overarching story to it all, but it's so overarching that most episodes are just like it can be classified as like some filler episodes because they do further the plot. They do get referenced later, but it's just an episode in and of itself.
Like, really, the only episodes that I feel like you have to watch, like, a set of episodes in order is, like, the Michael Scott Paper Company. That's really the only ones that you really have to, you know, watch the whole... How many of those are there? Is there like 3 or 4 of them?
It's a couple of them. We were actually just watching through that not too long ago, the Michael Scott Papers Company arc there. Which that brings in another aspect of the show, Michael leaving. I know we just jumped right into it and we jumped right to the leaving of it, but it goes back to the fact that, like, when you have a main character in the show, because Michael is the main character of The Office, he's the lead cast member of the show. When that character leaves, is it really worth keeping going? You know, I'm not going to say that there weren't good episodes after he left, but they weren't as good as a whole.
Now, see, I still like season 8 and 9. He left season 7, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think they only shot 2 or so seasons with him.
Yeah.
Out him. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, I believe it's season 8 and 9 that he's not in. But I still like that because, like you said, there's still plenty of good episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the show was definitely missing something after Michael left.
Oh yeah, because I wonder how much of it is fan perception of it, and how much of it was that they planned this. But like, they obviously tried to move Andrew into the role of Michael, and like as the comedic relief. And for a time there, they had D'Angelo trying to be in the area, and they both fell flat. They both. It was really bad and really hard to watch. Like, some of my least favorite episodes are the ones with D'Angelo. And, like, I know we all, like, any Office fan loves the scene with the 10,900 and whatever seconds, the song that they sing for Michael. And you love that and you get real emotional with it. And then everyone just cringes so hard when D'Angelo starts singing. You know? And... it's like, you know, I get what they're going for. Like, it fits the character of D'Angelo, but I also feel like he probably should have just been out of that scene. You know, not in it at all because of the emotion that was with it all.
Yeah. And the reason I think with Andy, I think he could have been a good manager, but the problem was the Hangover movies.
Yeah.
He for those 2 seasons, he was gone for like half the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they had the whole they had the one thing with the boat. Was that was the biggest gap that he was gone for, right?
So, yeah.
Yeah. But like I don't know, like Andy was never like my favorite character, but he was never like my least favorite character either. But he really got to a really dislikable point in those last couple seasons. Like he was not as likable of a character as he was prior to it all.
Well, it's just like so after the Florida arc when they go down to open the Saber store.
Yeah.
Like Aaron, wants to stay in Florida, and Andy goes to Florida to get her.
Yeah.
Like at that point, you start to like him, and then the whole thing with the boat.
Yeah.
It's just like you, and
he's very back and forth with his feelings for Aaron and their whole like everything that goes on with them. Like sometimes you like him with that, and sometimes you're like this guy is one of the worst characters here.
Yeah, and I feel like it could have worked, and you could have made it a It could have been like somewhat of like a Jim and Pam relationship. It never would have gotten to that point.
Never gotten to that point.
But
the closest thing that the show has outside of Jim and Pam to a Jim and Pam relationship is once Dwight and Angela get back together. Like for some of my favorite episodes, a lot of it goes back to the fact of the emotion that comes with it, and you've been watching all this. But is the final couple episodes with Angela and Dwight's wedding? That I think those are some of the best episodes that they made for the show.
Let's talk about this. So one thing I like to judge shows on is the ending. And I know we're kind of jumping around here, but what did you think of The Office's ending?
Oh, I loved it. When watching through the show, I like, because you get invested with these characters. You want to know what happens to them. And, when you finally get to that ending, I think it's a very satisfactory ending. And it leaves you with that, like, happy feeling. And then, then the first episode starts playing again. And you're like, this is where it all began. And I really like that feeling. I really thought they did it well. It left me satisfied with the way they ended the show.
Because that's one thing I kind of said when we're talking about endings for shows. So one thing, so I pretty much have like 2 questions that I ask. So, one, does it give good enough closure for all these characters? And 2, do you want more?
Yeah.
And of course with The Office, yes, you want more, but it's not like, so with some shows when they end, it's like, I kind of feel cheated. I need more of the show. But The Office is like, I would love more, but I'm so happy with what I got.
Yeah. And there's so much to it as well. Like, there's a reason that, you and me both, we go back and we watch episodes. Because, yes, it would be nice to have more, but I also find a lot of comfort in what's already there. Like I find a lot of joy and comfort in what I'm watching that's, the same that's been there for years, as opposed to, new shows. Speaking of like, with more coming out, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I haven't watched the newest season, and I have I don't have a place to watch it right now, a thing to watch it on, but like there's some kind of I like the show. I've seen all that's been put out up until the newest season, and it's like, do I really want to watch more because what's going to come in the next couple of seasons, what's going to come out of that. With The Office, it's a finalized show, there's no more new coming out, so there's nothing that can change what's going on. Like I'm kind of afraid of some of the politicalness that might have gotten into Brooklyn Nine-Nine. The Office doesn't have that. There's no new episodes coming out that are going to get more political, less political, anything. It's just the show is what it is, and I like that aspect of it all.
And talking about that, like, a show like The Office would not be made today.
Oh, no. Steve Carell's even made that comment, yeah.
I know it's what, like, it's not even, like, 15 years old yet.
Yeah. It started in, 2005?
Yeah, I'm talking about, like, it ended less than 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But still, a show like that would not be made today.
No, it would not. It would not be allowed to air. Not the kind of
Yeah.
humor that it had, and I think that's one thing that I like about it too. Is like the fact that the kind of show that it is. Now, you also have to think about this. You say a show like that wouldn't air today, but Family Guy is still a show that's getting aired today, and it is very much it can be classified in the same realm as The Office because of the insensitive jokes that they make.
Fair enough.
And everyone loves Family Guy.
Yeah, I guess Family Guy, South Park, they get in that same
little area there, and they're still being aired today.
Yeah.
So, do I think that The Office would still be made today? I don't, because the thing that South Park and Family Guy have going for them is that they're a continued show.
Mm-hmm.
They've been going on for. If The Office had continued, maybe it would still be being made today, but I don't think that it could start in today's climate.
Yeah, but we don't want The Office to turn into The Simpsons.
Exactly. That's very true.
Yeah.
You can't do it either. You did just
which,
too many live action characters.
Yeah, which I think Family Guy is getting to that point, kind of turning into The Simpsons. But
they've been going on for like 20 seasons.
Yeah, and what is Simpsons up to 30 now?
It's probably it's
I
far out there. So, but one point I do want to touch on. This is a little bit off topic, but when it comes to the Office, talking about like characters that we do and don't like, there's one constant with it all, and this is a credit to the actors playing the characters. What the characters do is very much what you would expect out of the characters with all the situations going on. Like whether you like the character or not, the character themselves, like all the stuff that Andy does, is very much on character with Andy's character. You know, D'Angelo, like I was mentioning earlier, with him interrupting, that's very on point with the way that they made the character out to be. You know, and it's like every character stays so true to the personality that they have in the show. You know, because obviously it's supposed to be a documentary of the paper company, so these are supposed to be real people, and they stay very true to who they are throughout the series, throughout the choices that they make, and some of the things that happen.
And they're all kind of caricatures of their they're all kind of caricatures. Like, you know, Dwight is the they're all characters of some kind. They have, like you said, they kind of have a character set, and they don't really stray from that.
Yeah.
You know, like Kevin's heavy, and he likes to eat.
Yeah.
And they constantly make jokes about his intelligence, even though he might be one of the smartest.
I don't know about that.
Did you ever watch those webtoon or the web thing or whatever, the like little Office snippets of like some of the side characters?
I've seen some you talking about like some of the bloopers that they've done.
Well, like they actually made little like mini episodes that they just aired online.
No, I'd never seen that before.
So it has a lot of like with accounting.
Okay.
Like
I think I've seen some of those on YouTube and like or not YouTube, some of those on like Instagram or whatever, and like I'm like, where is this? I've never seen this before, and I guess it's probably
it's like one of the main ones is Kevin's the kind of the main character in one of them, and he's trying to. Because they hinted at it throughout the show that Kevin's got gambling debt.
Yeah.
And so this one kind of focuses on that. He's trying to buy an ice cream cart or ice cream truck. I don't remember exactly what it is, but he's trying to sell ice cream to make money to pay off his gambling debt.
That's not a good thing for Kevin.
Yeah, and Daryl tries to help him with that to get a loan for that, and. Yeah, you should watch it if you haven't seen this.
Yeah, I need to look that up. Can you find it on YouTube or is it like a special site?
It's on YouTube. It
Okay.
should be on the Office's YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
That definitely be worth looking into. More Office content's always a good thing. But like, yeah, you're talking about like the caricatures, like you know how like Angela is very much the self-righteous, person there, and like Jim's the ultimate slacker. And Dwight is the ultimate like kiss up and worker, and like he is just there to make sure that the business is the best it can be, and wants to be the best himself and all that stuff, and sometimes even to the extreme where it's like not a good thing, you know.
Which that's one thing with Andy. So Andy was introduced originally in this in the where was that other branch that Jim went to?
That was in the it's.
I think it was it was somewhere in Connecticut, I think. But
it was in Connecticut.
Well, I don't remember what the city was called.
But that's gonna be bugging me now.
And yeah, when Jim went to this other branch,
Stanford.
Stanford, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, when Jim went to Stanford, Andy was kind of that Dwight role, like the kiss up kind of thing. And when he came to Scranton, I always thought Dwight and Andy's interactions were always some of the best with Andy's character.
Yeah, and see that sticks also to the fact that they stayed very true to their characters with all this. Like obviously a kiss up from one branch coming and meeting up with a kiss up from another branch. There's going to be conflict there, and there was obviously conflict they had. Throughout most of the show, there was like a brief time where they started being friends, and then they kind of that fizzled out itself, and they kind of just went back to being the same. Just not really great with each other, but it is what it is. Aside from Dwight firing a gun in the office, what are your thoughts on him being the manager? Do you think he deserved that role?
I think it was given his character progression over the show. I think it was well earned.
By the end of it all.
Okay. And because the gun incident, that was when he was acting manager after Michael left.
Yeah.
So that would have been like 2.5 years before he was actually made manager.
Yeah.
But I think at the very end of the show when he finally became manager, I think it was well earned, well deserved. And even Jim mentioned that that I forget exactly what he said, but he said something along the lines of you've earned it.
Yeah. Speaking of Jim, I know Jim's character goes from an extremely likable guy at the beginning of it all to less than likable by the end of it all, mostly because of the lack of backbone that he tends to have throughout some of the later seasons, and how he, in some way, like especially with the episodes with what's his name when the replacement for Ryan comes in, what's his name, Charles. When Charles comes in, and how he tries to kiss up to Charles just slightly, but he still does it, and some of the stuff he does later on, like with that, like he gets into that kind of a character, like a little bit later on in the end of the seasons. Like him and Pam stop being the likable couple at some point and all that. Like they're not bad all the time, but like some of the later seasons, you can tell they're not the most fun to watch, But that aside, because I think later on in the later seasons, especially when he starts doing the stuff with Athlete, he gets a little bit less, like he's a little bit more detached and all. But do you think Jim ever deserved the job of the regional manager? I know he got to co-manager at one point, which, there are aspects of that he probably could have done better as well. But like, do you think like starting out he ever deserved the job of manager?
I think he could have, or he had been there long enough. He had enough experience, but just with Jim's personality, I don't know if he actually would have made a good manager. Which is kind of part of the reason the whole thing with the him being a co-manager. It's part of the whole story arc of that.
Yeah, why that didn't exactly work out too well. Yeah, I think a lot of it is, and part of the reason that I love the character of Michael so much, for as hard as sometimes he is to watch, is
Scott's Tots.
When it gets down to it, Michael knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He is the best salesman in that office. He is the best person to manage that office. And it is not shown very often, but there are snippets here and there where he, like the one episode where he goes out in the wilderness and he's like, whatever, and Jim tries to make everyone's birthday on one day. the little conversation that they have there shows that Michael knows what he's doing as far as running an office. And there's a reason why they're the most successful branch. Despite all the messing around that takes place, he knows what he's doing. He's tried things before. He's been the regional manager for what? I mean, he's been working there for like 15 years. He's been regional manager for at least 5 or 10.
I'm talking about like his him being the best salesman. Like he does have also like some of the best people skills in that office.
Yeah, he does.
And, like talk about what's his name, the salesman from the like other paper company that he convinces.
Oh yeah, I don't know what his name is.
He's only in a couple episodes, but
yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Like just from sitting down and talking to Michael convinces him to switch companies.
Yeah. And that really does show just how good of a salesman Michael is, and I know like Stanley does not respect Michael, and we have the Did I Stutter episode, and where like they have that whole conflict there. Michael's not the most confrontive person. He's not the biggest person on conflict. He tries to resolve that in maybe some of the more unorthodox ways. He messes around a whole lot, doesn't always take his job seriously, but you can tell that there are the signs there as to why he is the most successful brand, and he doesn't even always know it. Like the time that David brings him in for the meeting and says, "All right, I want to know why you're the most successful branch that we have. Why? When every other branch is losing everything that they've gotten over the years, you're gaining. Why is this?"
And it's like
and he doesn't know. He doesn't know because it's underlining there, but it's just how he is, like how he runs things.
And it's like when the Sabre thing that comes, when Sabre buys under Mifflin's, like I think David Wallace even mentions like the Scranton branch is the only part of that company that actually works.
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah.
And
yeah, a big part of that is Michael.
And you think about it, like a big part of, well, no, because David buys the company back after Michael leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I also love. David Wallace is also probably one of my favorite characters in the show too, and a lot of it has to do with the relationship that he has with Michael.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always like the greatest, and Michael's awkward and weird sometimes, and you can tell David rubbing off with, like, you can see that, and it doesn't always respond well, but down to it you can tell that David respects Michael. And that he cares about Michael, and like with the whole aspect of when Charles comes on, David's like, you know what, we messed up here. I need to be more accessible for you because of all you've done for the company. And he says, what can we do to fix this? And then, Michael obviously leaves.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you can tell that, like, the way that the actor played, I don't know the actor's name, but the way that the actor played David Wallace, like, he did a great job, especially with his interactions with Michael. Like, I think that all those were really well done.
Like, you can tell a lot of times, like, he gets frustrated with Michael a lot, but yeah, he does still.
But he keeps calm with it all because he understands how Michael is, and he works with it. And that's one thing that I think that's a big reason why Michael has lasted so long with the company. Not only because of the numbers that he brings in, but because of David Wallace understanding Michael and being able to kind of, be a buffer when it comes to relating to other members of like some of the board or whatever.
Talking about David Wallace, throughout the run of the show, there were a lot of corporate managers. From I know David Wallace was still like the head of the company, like when Pam and Ryan were there, but you get into the Sabre stuff.
You said Jan or Pam?
Janet.
Okay, I thought you said Pam, and I was like, Pam. But yeah, anyways, we know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but then you also get like with the Sabre stuff, Joe Bennett and Robert California. Honestly, I think they got worse as the show went on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, they did bring David Wallace back at the end of the show, but
yeah, not Jan. Shoot, what's her name? Joe Bennett.
Yeah.
You could tell that she was savvy enough as a businesswoman that she was patient with Michael because she knew what the numbers were.
Mm-hmm.
When Robert California came along, he was crazy.
And that was also after Michael left too.
And that was yeah. Did Michael leave during Joe's time, or did he leave when Robert California came on? I can't remember what all this.
So he left. They hired Robert California as the branch manager.
The manager.
Then he drove down to Florida and
convinced Joe Bennett to sell it to him,
or to become make him the CEO. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Robert California was just
character.
Weird. Like,
he was. I'm the Lizard King. You don't know who I am.
Yeah, like it's just like
he was a very interesting character.
Robert California is, to a lot of people, is one of the most hated characters, which I do get to some degree. But it's just like some of his lines are funny.
So I understand why he'd be a hated character, but I also really like his character for the simple reason of when you're looking for a character who needs to be comic relief, he is hilarious.
Mm.
And it's not even intentional like the way Michael was trying to be hilarious. He is saying things that are so insane and so crazy that you have to laugh.
But he's dead serious.
And he's dead serious,
yeah.
Exactly. And that's the funny part of it all. I honestly really like his character.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of the aspects, like he is really weird. He's really strange. But there are certain things that he says that are like, wow, that's like some insightful stuff that he gives some advice like to Dwight at some point. Like he'll give some stuff, and it's like it's not all weird. It's not like when he talks to Jim and says, "Do you want a sexual metaphor or do you want a nature metaphor?" And they're both really bad.
Yeah,
it's just there's certain times he says things and it's like, hey, that's actually not some bad advice,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's when it comes to The Office, like I've said this a lot, like a show like Parks and Rec, there's not a character in the show that I would say that I absolutely hate. I dislike. The Office has a lot of characters that are not exactly the most likable.
D'Angelo.
And they were written in that way.
Mm.
And they have some characters that are extremely likable, but and some of them are likable at the beginning, and they go through times where they're not, and they are, and they're not. Like I like Jim, I like Pam, I like Dwight, I like Angela, I like all these characters, but there are times that I don't like all those characters. Even Michael, I like Michael, but there are times that Scott Stotts, it's just bad. Like
a lot of times when I'm watching through The Office and the Scott Stotts episode comes up,
mm-hmm.
I have to skip it just because I love that episode. It's hilarious, but it is also so cringy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It also makes you wonder how much of the show's cringe. I know obviously a lot of the show's cringe is planned, but an episode like that, how much of that was planned? Ahead of time. They're like, we're gonna make the cringiest episode ever. Was that the plan going into it? There's a lot of things behind the scenes that are interesting. With that.
And Michael does have that. He's very cringy, but in a charming way. You want to like Michael even though it's cringy.
Yeah.
In some instances, with the what's that little paper company that they're trying to?
Prince Paper.
Prince Family Paper. Yeah. That episode, he's very cringy in that episode,
mm-hmm.
but at the same time, you still like
you
still like him. But Scott Stotts is just
cringy without the like.
He's cringy, but with it almost gets rid of Michael's charm in that episode with the cringe.
One aspect of the show that I really do like is the fact that a lot of the cast members wrote the show. Yep. Which also I think helps with the fact that the characters stay true to themselves. So Ryan was BJ Novak was a really big part of writing the show. He wrote a lot of episodes. I know I saw a couple where I think Kelly, the actress who played Kelly, helped write some episodes as well. And the biggest one that I want to get around to is Toby.
Yeah.
Toby wrote a lot of episodes as well. Now, fun fact with that is, if he wrote an episode, he would not be in it or in it much because he hated acting.
That's why Michael always told him to leave meetings and stuff because he hated being on camera.
I think Toby's character is a very interesting one. Very well acted. I think he did a great job with the character.
I actually think Toby's a good.
I think he did a great job with the character. For those on the podcast, I just leaned over and touched David's knee with the insinuating the time that Toby touched Pam's knee and then jumped over the fence. So
yeah.
So now David's cringing a lot because obviously that is a very cringy moment in the show. But again, very well done. Like, yeah. I thought it was like the cringe in the show is very well planned, very well thought out, and it's just done so well. Like it's great.
Yeah, Toby. I actually really like the character of Toby just because he is such a
cringy character, honestly.
Yeah. And he's honestly probably one of the most normal characters in the show. Like, as weird as that is, he's one of the most normal characters in the show.
Yeah.
But he's also like
Now, that also has to bring around the question about, the topic of the Scranton Strangler, which is obviously where I was going with all this, is leading to the Scranton Strangler. And I don't know, because I don't keep up with every single podcast or, insider report about, like, the show. So I don't know if they've talked about it and have confirmed or denied any of this. But a lot of evidence, and it's obviously a very popular theory, is that the Scranton Strangler is Toby. And there's a lot of evidence that points to that. A lot of the Strangler's attacks happen on dates that are very good for Jim and Pam. So, like the first attack of the Scranton Strangler is when they had the baby, right? I think that's the first.
Yeah. When
Andy shows the
or that's the first time they mention it, yeah.
Yeah, the first time they mention the Scranton Strangler. They have a lot of different things like that. You also have to think about the fact that, with this chase scene, Toby's not in it. And apparently the car that's in the chase scene is one that has been seen around the office. And I don't think that's, when you watch these shows and TV shows, or movies, everything that's in it, like props and all that stuff, has been planned out. Like there's a lot of people on set to coordinate all these things, and everything is supposed to be,
I think,
a clue to something.
I think a big part of that theory is like when Toby goes to see the convicted Scranton Strangler. I forget what his name is.
I don't remember what his name is.
But he basically tells him that I'm the real Scranton Strangler,
and that's
why he attacks him.
Yeah. Now, I do think it's key to note that he's a Scranton Strangler, and I don't think that at any point in time they say that he killed anyone.
In fact, there's actually some stuff outside the show about the show that talks about the Scranton Strangler never actually killed anyone.
Yeah, he just strangled people.
Which I think is a very Toby thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he wouldn't go through with it.
Yeah, which the other big theory for the Scranton Strangler, or one of the other big theories for the Scranton Strangler, is Creed.
Yeah, I love the episode of The Office where it's the Halloween one.
Oh yeah.
And he comes in and he's like, oh, it's Halloween? Huh. That was timed very well. Like, what were you up to, Creed?
Or the murder in Savannah.
Yeah.
Let me go get settled in. You see him running out of his car.
Yeah, boss, I'll be right back.
Yeah. But Creed definitely has something going on.
Oh, something, for sure. I mean, at the end of it all,
he gets arrested. Yeah.
He gets arrested.
Yeah.
Like, it's great.
And he also, at one point in the show, hints that Creed Bratton's not actually his real name.
Yeah. Also, I love the fact that the character of Creed Bratton is played by Creed Bratton. Like, I love that aspect of it all too. But Creed is such an interesting character and such a weird character. And again, just another amazing character that was created from the show. And I don't know how to explain him, how to explain anything that he does, but it's just it's great.
Yeah, Creed is definitely there's a lot of Creed moments that are just hilarious.
Just for how random they are.
I love the thing of going back to when Dwight becomes the acting manager, and he goes in the office and yells that, and then Creed gets up on the desk, and he's like, Creed Bratton is the manager.
Yeah, and then there was that time where Creed was the acting manager. Like,
that was actually right after that, wasn't it?
Yeah, like just an episode or whatever where Creed was the acting manager. Here's two pictures. You need to figure out what the difference is.
Oh, given to me, I already see two or whatever it is. Yeah.
They're the same picture.
Yeah.
I love that meme. That's a great one.
Yeah, that's a really good meme. There's a lot of great memes.
Oh, there's a lot of great Office memes. Well, I think another thing, like you talking about the randomness of the show, or the randomness of the character of Creed, the show is extremely random too. Like we were talking about, like how like there are overarching plots to the show, but a lot of it is just randomness.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of random things to it. Also, I think The Office has some of the greatest cold opens. Like they're hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously, and this is another meme, but the cold open with Asian Jim. You know,
Asian Jim or the Dwight impersonation.
Yeah.
Or parkour.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna mention about the one with the Asian Jim is like that's still a thing nowadays. Like they'll take the actor with Asian Jim, they'll take John Krasinski, and they'll be like, they're the same person. You know, like I love that. Also, I really do like the act. I don't know his name, but like I know he appears in some of the Marvel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I like what I've seen him in. Like he's a funny guy. But like yeah, I like it's gone beyond the show, and like even just things outside of the show. If they're ever in the same thing, it's like, you know, they do like the Spider-Man point, like, oh, it's you're the same person or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And for anyone who has not seen the show, like it's got to be so confusing to see that and be like, what's going on here?
Yeah, but another thing with talking about the pranks on Dwight, there are a bunch of really good ones. Like more so in the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
They really kind of
stray
away from that in the like later episodes, but yeah, like. I like the
put my stuff in Jello again. Like it's such a simple prank, but it's like obviously one of the more iconic ones.
Mm. Well, and that one actually came from the British Office, because that was actually a gag in the British Office. And that's where they got that from. But
you've been meatballed.
I don't know why that one is so funny.
I really don't know why. Also, I don't remember who they were trying to haze, but remember when Jim gives Dwight a list of pranks that they can do, and one of them is where have the drawer where it only opens up so far, and then he does it to Dwight. I love all like that like when with times like that when Jim and Dwight are kind of in cahoots together on things, but then Jim is still messing with Dwight. I love that. Like, you know, he's over here, he's like, all right, let me grab a pencil and we'll start writing down some ideas. And he's like,
well, because remember,
wait, give me a second, I'll get in there.
Because remember, Dwight, like Jim says that, and Dwight like completely dismisses it.
That's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
And then he does it to Dwight, and he's like, this is really frustrating. He's like, my point exactly. Like, I really think like the creativity with a lot of the different pranks that Jim pulls on, specifically Dwight, because that's usually the one that he pulls them on, is hilarious.
Or the wrapped desk for Christmas.
Yeah, that one's like I did it in like I have a black belt in rapping. You know, I did it in 5 minutes, and it's like
I don't give black belts out for things that are stupid.
And it just throws everything on the desk.
Now, another moment that I love in The Office is what do you think about the like customer service thing or the coaching thing Michael gives to Dwight,
Jim Butler.
Yeah, or
Bill
Butler.
Bill Butler. Yeah. I don't remember what game I was trying to play, but I was playing a game and it had like a username, and I tried to put in Buttlicker, like Jim Buttlicker, and it would not let me do it for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But like I tried to put, I think I put like Jim Buttlicker, and I was like, Office reference, and it said no, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I still want to do it though.
Yeah.
But William Buttlicker. Was it?
My family built this country.
Have you seen the things where it's like a picture of Jim, and then it has like an old timey like filter over it, and then it has like, you know, William Buttlicker under it.
I've seen this. So I know we mentioned this earlier, or kind of mentioned this earlier, but who is your least favorite character in The Office?
Least favorite character in the whole entirety of The Office, I would say, is definitely D'Angelo. But as far as like a main character,
so I would agree with you. Yeah, D'Angelo. Like,
I like
Will
Ferrell in certain things, but he was not good in that. Obviously, he was written that way.
He was written.
He was definitely written that way, but that doesn't mean that I like him.
Yeah, it's definitely a. So main characters.
Main character. Okay, least favorite. See, that's the problem. Is like there's so many characters that go through so many different transformations throughout the entirety of the show that like.
Well, I don't even think you could pick like because like the main characters are like Dwight, Jim, Pam, Michael. Yeah. I don't think you can really pick one of those as your least favorite. But
yeah.
As far as like I will tell you that. D'Angelo is one. Gabe.
See,
I don't like Gabe.
I understand not liking Gabe, but at the same time, I don't think that he has enough of an impact.
Yeah, because he really is only in like 2 seasons.
Yeah, the string bean's only there for a couple things, and then he leaves. Like he's not doing a whole lot.
Yeah. It's also same way with the new guys like the last season or whatever, like Pete and whatever that other guy's name is.
I don't really care for them, but
they're not in it.
They're not in it. It doesn't really matter. You know, like that's the thing, and I get that like those are like Gabe is very much as much of a side character as like characters like Oscar and Kevin and stuff like that. But Oscar, Kevin, and Angela,
Kelly, Toby, Ryan, they've been in the whole series.
Yeah. You know, you got like they're all in it the whole series. Meredith and Stanley, they're all in it the whole entire series.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you can't hate on a character like Karen. That's her name, right?
Talking about Rashida Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, Karen Philpelli.
Yeah, you can't hate on a character like Karen because she's like you're saying, like Toby being one of the more relatable characters. She's a very relatable character. It's just she wasn't the one you were rooting for because she wasn't Pam.
Well, it's like I saw a meme one time. It's just like I just had my entire life just changed because like growing up, I hated this character so much because she wasn't Pam, but I realized today that she really did nothing wrong.
Yeah, she did nothing wrong. We got like really, really big time screwed over.
And you realize that it's just like, oh well, dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say like, and they get away from this in the later seasons, but like starting out, and this is another reason why like Jim and Pam are some of your more like favorite characters starting out the show, is the dynamic of the show is Jim and Pam are the good guys, Dwight's the bad guy, and Michael is the comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
And you know you kind of base your perception on the characters with that. But then later on, like, Dwight is more of a friend to Jim and Pam as the seasons go on. Like, they're less enemies and they become more friends.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you really start to like... Because, like, in the first couple of seasons, like, Dwight is a likable character, but he's not, like, your favorite character, you know? And then, like, he becomes more of a likable character. By the end of the series, I'd say he's probably one of my favorite characters.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, Jim and Pam have gotten down lower on the list as far as by the end of the series, like the way that they kind of, you know, portray them. Obviously Michael's probably consistently my favorite character just because of how consistent he stays throughout the whole entire show.
Have you ever seen some of the auditions for The Office?
I've seen a couple of them. I know that Dwight originally auditioned for Michael.
Yeah, and it's just like there's a lot of actors that like I don't even think I could like see in those roles. Like
no.
I think one that I actually think would actually make now it would have been a very different show, but I think would actually have made an interesting show is I think it was Seth Rogen auditioned for Dwight.
Huh.
I'm like I could see that, but that would be a very different show.
Very different show. I love back when Marvel was first starting to get a little bit more popular, outside of like Marvel fans, I think like this would probably be around like when Winter Soldier came out and all, and like they're starting to kind of ramp up with being more of a pop culture icon as opposed to just being being superhero movies. I saw one thing and it was like, this guy from The Office auditioned for Captain America, and I watched The Office and I was like, oh, Jim auditioned for Captain America? That's interesting. And then he starts coming out with all these things later on where he's like more of an action star with all these other movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, so he could have auditioned and got he could have played Captain America. I did see one thing though where he was talking about auditioning for the role of Captain America, and he was like in the dressing room, putting on the costume, and he saw Hemsworth walk by, and he was like, nope, and just like started taking the costume off because he was like, I'm not built like that, because like Hemsworth is just jacked. But like now like
with Chris Hemsworth being like jacked like that, do you know his stunt double? Is pretty much like screwed because he can only stunt double for Chris Hemsworth because he has to have that same body shape, and no one else is that jacked.
Yeah.
And he actually works out with Chris Hemsworth every time just to keep up with him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I think it's something else.
Chris Hemsworth is definitely built different.
And it's something like with Tom Hiddleston talking about that. Like he's like, yeah, Tom Hiddleston originally auditioned for Thor too.
Yeah.
And of course he ended up playing Loki, but it's funny because like he was in an interview one time and he's like, yeah, sometimes I do kind of wish I had gotten the role of Thor, but then I look over there and see them force feeding Chris a whole chicken. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, that's the thing though. It's like and like. So some of like the I think specifically in the first Thor movie, the shirtless scene that he has, and like think about that and the way he looks, like how jacked and shredded he looks in that, as opposed to like the shirtless scene in like Captain America. Like Chris Evans is jacked too, but Chris Hemsworth is on another level.
He's huge.
He's huge, yep. and like the like he get the triangle shape, and like he's shredded all the way down. He's jacked, and he stays that way up until like even in the obviously he went and took off with the Infinity Saga stuff, but like in Ragnarok and even in the newest one, like he is still shredded.
Well, in Endgame, he was still shredded, but he was wearing a fat suit. He was still shredded underneath it.
Well, what I meant by that was like that was the one aspect where he was like not you didn't see it, but like even like up in like that was in the first Thor movie, but even up until current, like with whatever movies he's in now, like he is still like the same type of shredded, like jacked.
Which that's one thing that I actually kind of like with Chris Hemsworth, because so originally in Endgame, in the final fight, when that they have like the little fight with Iron Man, Cap, and Thor when like they go out and meet Thanos when he comes back, when he comes to the future or whatever. So like Thor, when he brings Stormbreaker to him and like he has the lightning strike and does the suit change. Originally in the script, he was supposed to go back to being jacked then, like when the lightning struck him.
Yeah.
But Chris Hemsworth read the script and he's like, no. I want to stay fat. Which I love Chris Hemsworth's humor.
I know like you like a lot of like stuff with like Chris Pratt and all, and that he's a great actor. But I think like him and Hemsworth are like almost like one and the same with a lot of the humor that they do.
Oh yeah.
They're very similar in how they are.
That's like how like in Infinity War, how they kind of play off each other.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, they definitely saw that, and they made it a thing there. But like going back like to at least characters from The Office, like nowadays, you see stuff, and even with him being introduced as Mr. Fantastic, which
I love the fact that Marvel actually listened to the fans.
That was definitely fan casted.
Yeah.
But like he does like the Jack Ryan movies, and like some other he's done some other action movies, and like he's gone from in Michael's words, Big Bird or Gumby or whatever, to being like he's on the same level as like all these action stars. He's jacked too,
and he's actually one of the rare examples. I know last time we mentioned like the difference between like actors and movie stars. He's one of the rare examples of like someone who actually kind of beat the being typecasted.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, obviously, yeah, being cast as Jim is what got him into stardom.
Yeah.
And he went from that and a comedy show where he's not exactly the biggest, toughest guy with all this to playing, you know, in movies like the Jack Ryan series. I like watching 13 Hours, and then like A Quiet Place, you know. Like, Quiet Place is amazing.
Those are good movies.
So
when is part 3 coming out, or do you know?
I have no idea. I don't keep up with them, like, as far as like stuff with it, but like I'll watch it when it comes out.
Yeah.
But those are really
talk
good.
About those on the cast later.
We probably do. Which means we need to watch them. Let's go. But anyways, I also like I like that he's branched out into the realm of directing. Yeah. Because any movie that I've heard that he's directed, like A Quiet Place being the prime example of it, is amazing. Like, he does an amazing job with directing.
Well, it's just like in A Quiet Place Part 2, you know, he's barely in it, but you know, he still directed it. And, yeah, it's
great.
Great movie.
Yeah, which I heard with the stuff coming up with the Fantastic Four, it's not confirmed that he's directing it yet. Right? Just the director dropped out. Isn't that what?
A lot of people think he is going to direct it.
Yeah, because the director dropped out.
But at the same time,
I think that will make it a great movie.
I don't know if they're gonna because I've heard things saying like he might not actually play Mr. Fantastic in that movie.
Okay, you can get outrage.
Yeah.
There's a reason that the fans casted him as this.
He's perfect for that role.
Keep him, and then Emily Blunt as Sue Storm.
Yeah.
Like, just listen to the fans. The fans tell you what they want. Listen.
And they already had him in the MCU, so it wouldn't really work. But I would have said David Harbour as Thing. And he was
I'm trying to think who that is.
Hopper from Stranger Things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was he in the MCU as?
He was in Black Widow.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I remember that. But like, here's the thing. So, you're talking about them doing like casting someone else as Reed Richards aside from him, even after having him in an alternate universe, mind you, being Reed Richards. But they haven't cast anyone else for any of the other movies for Kang. And Kang has multiple variants, but they're all the exact same actor. So why would they do it differently for the actor like Reed Richards?
That's the thing. It's also like in Doctor Strange there were a lot of variants. Like all the variants of Doctor Strange were still Benedict Cumberbatch.
Exactly. So
yeah,
they need to stick with it. They need to stick with the fans, what they think, what they want. And I think if they do that and they stick with the John Krasinski and maybe even let him direct the Fantastic Four movie, they might finally actually make a good Fantastic Four movie. Yeah. It's not just comic relief. So Sarah did just mention the fact that the Doctor Strange are all the same, and even like I mentioned, Kang is the same, but Spider-Man's not. But that's not exactly true, because in the different universes, different people are Spider-Man. So in one Spider-Verse, it's Spider-Gwen, where Gwen Stacy becomes Spider-Man instead of Peter Parker. In Miles Morales' universe, Peter Parker dies being Spider-Man, which means that Miles Morales takes over the role of Spider-Man.
I mean, you could argue that they're different ages, but at the same time, I mean, yes, they did play.
Now, I guess you're more on the lines of the in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That is true. But then again, that goes back to the fact that is a lot of fan service.
Yeah.
Like, the reason they brought him in is because they had actors previously playing these. So I don't think that they need to do that when it comes to the realm of, like, introducing a new character. Especially when they just introduce a new character, they need to bring him in as who he is.
Yeah.
You know. And, you know, that being that they're from different universes, different things happen. And, you know, but I really think the only way that you can really write that off is saying it's really just fan service, because I don't think there's an actual logical explanation as to why that they would all look different.
Well, I mean, you do also have to think of, like, in Loki, like, one of the variants of Loki is a woman, and one of the variants of Loki is black. So, I mean, you do have that kind of thing, like.
But again, a pre-established character being played by other people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess there is a precedent for that in the MCU, but for the most part, it's
This is a new character. The fans have spoken as to who they want to do it. If you don't in all honesty, like, even if it's just a mild change of not having John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, I still think people will not like the movie as much because they have their mind set up on the fact that John Krasinski needs to play Mr. Fantastic. Yeah. And whether it's an amazing movie or not, if he's not in that role, I'm pretty sure the fans will not like it as a whole. Despite it being a good movie or not, casting is everything.
Yeah.
Casting makes a movie. Even with a good actor, like you said, Seth Rogen being Dwight in The Office. The Office would have been a completely different show. Good, bad, or indifferent, it would have been a completely different show. And he's a good actor. That's fine. But doesn't change the fact that it's different.
Yeah.
So.
Well, explorers, that's all the time we have for today.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
Let us know what you thought in the comments down below. And you can listen to the full episode wherever you find podcasts.
Alright. And make sure to join us next week on the Trailcast.
Boom!